Hey, Miji. Thanks for hopping on. I'm excited to get on tonight. And I'm even more excited that I have this. Voila. Yay. Let me see on here. Bear with me for a second, guys. Just trying to make sure that I have everything that I need here. All right, guys. Where did that go? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to, I had something here. I'm not exactly sure where it went. Oh, I think okay. I see what I did wrong here. Let me do this again, folks. $25. So this you would do on the checkout, and let's see if this works. All right. Awesome. All right. I think I figured this section out. We'll make sure that it's where I need it to be. Okay. I am excited to get on. I think I figured out how to make this work and staying compliant, which is what we all want to do. And so I am excited to get on. I am grateful that I have the TikTok shop back. This is a blessing in disguise. So let's get with this. Okay. And I'm really excited to, oops. I need to move some things around here. Sorry, folks. Okay. Let's do this. I don't need this right here. I can put. Sorry, bear with me, folks. It's organized chaos at my house, I guess. So, all right, I'm excited to get on this evening, and I'm even more excited that I have the TikTok shop back, because that was something that I always look forward to. Elevate. I need to clear out my nostrils. My allergies are totally kicking my butt. And I don't know if you guys have ever used this, but it's absolutely amazing. So, folks, I'm excited to get on today. And I'm going to be talking about a major issue that is affecting 93% of us. Okay. It is called insulin resistance. Some of you may have been told that you have it. Some of you might not even know that you have it. Okay. But before I get started, if you wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Okay. And folks, if you are struggling with your health right now, this information could be a game changer for you. Okay. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, feel free to share this live with them so that they can hop on, they can listen, they can ask questions. Okay. I'm going to share some personal things with you, and I hope and pray that it helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I've made. Okay. You know, Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. Let me tell you, when you understand insulin resistance, it'll change everything. Okay. And that is my hope and my prayers, to share something that I really truly believe can make an impact. Okay. Now, whether you have been following me or you're new here, okay, I want to welcome you to my live. Okay. I am extremely grateful for each and every one of you in my TikTok family. I get excited to come on here. My hope and my prayer is that I share something that can help you to avoid the same mistakes that I've made. Okay. Here's the reality. Most people that have insulin resistance, they don't even know that they have it because it's rarely tested for. But it happens to be a major driver of heart disease, which happens to be the leading cause of death worldwide. Now, here's the deal. If you want to make a big impact in business or life, you've got to be able to solve a major problem. And right now, one of the biggest problems when it comes to our health is insulin resistance. Over 93% of people have it. And over the past couple of years, I have been able to improve my health in ways that didn't need a diet or medication or crazy exercises. Okay. So stick with me, right? Because this might be the important conversation that you hear all year. Okay. Now, why do we get sick? Okay. And there's a couple books before I really get into it that I want to recommend. Okay. And I have them both listed in the TikTok shop. Why We Get Sick by Dr. Benjamin Bickman. Okay. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's the leading expert in the world when it comes to insulin resistance. We've got Dr. Robert Lustig, okay, metabolical. Okay. So let me ask you a real question. Why are diabetes, heart disease, obesity, fatty liver, dementia, and autoimmune issues exploding today when our grandparents did not deal with this at the same rate? Think about this. We spend more money on healthcare than ever. We take more medications than we ever did before. And yet chronic disease keeps rising. This is not a genetics problem. This is a metabolic problem. And there's two powerful books that I utilize and I recommend. Okay. Why We Get Sick by Dr. Ben Bickman and Metabolical by Dr. Robert Lustig. Different authors, but they come to the same conclusion. Insulin resistance is the root cause of most chronic disease that we have. Now, if you've never heard of insulin resistance means that your cells have stopped responding to insulin properly. What this means is that your sugar stays high, insulin stays high. And what happens is that FAT storage increases. Inflammation increases, your energy crashes. Okay. Insulin is not bad, but it's not your friend, right? The problem is chronically elevated insulin all day, every day. So insulin has kind of three main jobs, right? The first one is that it helps to lower blood sugar. It stores energy as fat, and it prevents fat from being burned, right? That's what insulin is. When insulin is always high, fat loss becomes nearly impossible. And when that happens, guess what? Your hunger increases, your blood pressure rises. And what happens is that cholesterol actually makes things worse. Okay, inflammation damages the body. This is why people can eat less, right? Can eat less, move more, and still gain weight, right? How many of you have been given that advice, right? How many of you have been given the advice to move more and eat less, right? Or how many of us have told us to eat 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day? And Jake, I'm going to talk about insulin resistance, which will cover kind of what you're talking about. Okay. Let's talk about the real villain here. Okay. It's insulin resistance is a big deal, folks. But it's not just the calories, right? It is not just willpower. It is the ultra processed food. It is added sugar, refined carbohydrates. It's industrial seed oils that spike your insulin over and over. And what happens is that this starts to overload the liver. They damage the mitochondria, right? They hijack the hunger hormones. And you're not lazy, you're not broken. What happens is that your biology is being manipulated. Okay? Now, here is something that most people are never told. Okay? Your liver is actually the metabolic control center. When it is overloaded with sugar and refined carbs, what happens is that it converts the sugar into FAT. And what happens is that this starts to build up in the liver, and your insulin resistance worsens, your blood sugar rises. This leads to fatty liver disease. It leads to type 2 diabetes. It leads to high triglycerides. It leads to low HDL, right? We want to increase the HDL. And believe it or not, but this can actually even happen in skinny people. This is why high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and cholesterol problems usually show up together, right? All of these things are all connected. They're not separate issues. They are literally the downstream effects of insulin resistance, right? High insulin is telling the kidneys to hold sodium, right? Which raises your blood pressure. And high insulin changes LDL, right? Which raises your heart disease risk. And what happens is that high insulin drives inflammation, which damages your arteries over time. Now, far too often, all we are doing is throwing medications at our symptoms. But think about this. Treating symptoms without fixing insulin is like mopping the floor while the faucet is still running, right? Medication can be helpful, but most medications that you have do not fix insulin resistance. They manage numbers, okay, while the root cause continues to get out of worse. So I want you to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control. What I want you guys to understand is that the good news is that metabolic damage that is being done and has been done can be improved. You can improve insulin sensitivity. Our bodies are powerful, right? Our bodies know how to heal itself. Seriously, the body knows how to heal when insulin is lowered. Lower sugar and refined carbs. You create periods of where the insulin levels in your body is low. It supports the liver. It increases fiber. You eat real food. Prioritize sleep. You manage your stress. You move your body a little bit more. Okay. And when insulin resistance improves, blood sugar improves, right? Your blood pressure will also improve. Your cholesterol improves. Your energy returns and your hunger normalizes. Folks, we don't have a healthcare crisis. We have a metabolic crisis. And I want you guys to understand that your diagnosis is not a life sentence. It is a metabolic signal. And when you fix the signal, the body responds. Here's something that I think should really kind of piss a lot of you off. Because when you go to your doctor and your cholesterol is too high, the doctor prescribes what? A statin. Do you guys realize that there's over 1 billion people, 1 billion with a B, that are on statins? Now, maybe you have been told that they're the only reliable way to lower your cholesterol. Way back in 1990, right? This company, right? These guys right here, okay? Way back in 1990, these guys came out with a blend of plant-based fibers, which you can find in the TikTok shop, okay? This blend of plant-based fibers, okay? They created it back in the late 80s, early 90s. They said it was going to change the world. So they put 4 different patents on it so that nobody could copy it, right? They wanted to make sure that nobody could replicate it. By the way, I'm going to be talking about the Feel Great system. This is exactly why I use it, and this is exactly why I teach it. And if you're curious about what it is, it's listed right here in the TikTok shop, and I'm happy to send it. So, you know what's interesting is that the Cleveland Clinic happens to be the #1 heart hospital in the world. And the Cleveland Clinic, they took 119 hyperlipidemia patients, and they gave half a placebo, and they gave the other half this fiber. And in this study, their concluding statement was that if people use this fiber on a regular basis, that it would decrease cardiovascular disease on a population basis. You guys realize that heart disease is the #1 killer in the world? And most people have no idea that insulin resistance happens to be the root cause of that. Did you know that the United States is actually one of the worst countries when it comes to our metabolic health? It's worse in parts of the Middle East, Latin America, Southeast Asia. But right now, here in the US, 93% of people are affected by this. 54% of us are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And 20% more adolescents are dealing with insulin resistance now than they did 10 years ago. You notice how the Bible says that no good tree bears bad fruit. Well, folks, we know what the tree is, right? We know what the root is. The root happens to be insulin resistance. And the fruit is your skin issues, psoriasis, eczema. The root or the fruit is, obesity, it's neuropathy, it's diabetes, it's cholesterol, high blood sugar, right? It's all of these things that far too many of us are on a medication for. Think about this. Think about your family reunion. I can't even remember the last time I went to a family reunion, but think about the last family reunion that you went to. How many of your loved ones face these health challenges? And let me ask you this. If you had a solution to the problem of insulin resistance, whose life could you change? Imagine sharing something with somebody who you know is struggling with their health, and it improves it. It actually helps them to maybe even get off their meds, maybe lose the weight that they've been struggling to lose forever, right? What would that mean to you to share something that can make a significant impact in people's lives? Now, here's the part. Okay, what did somebody just write? I think I missed something. Alexander, great question, right? I don't drink coffee, but I know that some people do. And I think drinking black coffee, especially if you're trying to fast, black coffee does not break your fast. The moment we start adding creams and sugars, then we start breaking our fast, right? And folks, here's the part that no one tells you. You walk into a doctor's office with IBS and migraines and high cholesterol. And let's just say that you go to 3 different doctors, you're going to pay 3 different copays, and you're going to walk out with at least 3 different medications, and not one of those meds even touches the real root cause of your health issues. All they're doing is managing the numbers, the symptoms. But folks, the moment they stop taking those meds, when you stop it, what do you think happens to all of your symptoms? They come right back. Brett Hobbybroken, brother, how are you, man? Dude, you and I need to connect, man. I hope that you're doing well, brother. Brett Hobbybroken he's in the military. I've always had a lot of respect for him, and we used to work together when we were in the financial services industry. And I haven't seen that name in years. So, Brett, I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that you and I can connect. So I want you guys to think about this. Why are we all struggling with our health, right? Think about your own health as I talk. Are you dealing with constant fatigue? Are you tired all the time? Are you carrying some extra weight that no matter what you do, you just can't seem to lose it? What about migraines or headaches? I had migraine headaches for 23 years. I was in a bicycle accident in Omaha, Nebraska back in September 2nd of 2000. And so up until I started using the Feel Great system, I had migraines for 23 years. That's a long time. And I would literally get 1 to 2 migraines every week for the last 23 years. And the first week of utilizing the Feel Great system, my migraines went away. Now, how many of you deal with cravings? How many of you are craving food right now, right? You're craving sugar, your salt. Maybe you're even eating snacks right now. Alexander, brother, thank you so much, okay? Are you dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol? How many of you have fertility problems? You know, that's always been a really hard topic for me, right? I unfortunately, when I was married, I wasn't able to have kids. That's always been a burden for me. I love kids, and the fact that I've never been able to have my own, that's always been that's always been defeating for me, right? How many people do you know are trying to have a family, and maybe they're spending thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to trying to have a family, and it just doesn't work? How many of you have skin issues, skin tags, psoriasis, eczema, the kidney stones, kidney disease, right? Folks, some of you know my story. Back in November, and let me see if I can find this picture, but November of 2014, I donated a kidney to my sister's husband. And I'm so grateful for that, right? I'm honored that I was able to donate one of my kidneys. But it was 7 years later when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. And my nephrologist said, Troy, if you don't lose weight, Pooja, how are you doing? Right? My nephrologist said that if I didn't lose weight, if I didn't change my diet, that I was going to end up on dialysis. And I'm not going to lie, this scared the crap out of me. I've always been healthy. In fact, I was going to the gym 5 days out of the week when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. Here's the big issue. Folks, most doctors are not talking about insulin resistance, which happens to be the root cause behind a lot of these issues. Honestly, most people are not even learning it in school. Doctors aren't learning it in school, right? This is why I am so passionate about sharing this. Because you could have the symptoms from insulin resistance and never even know it. The good news is that you don't need meds or extreme diets to fix this. I'm going to show you 2 simple, effective ways to reverse insulin resistance naturally without crazy workouts and diets. And I'm going to talk about a tool which is listed in the TikTok shop right here the Feel Great system that is literally helping people in 66 countries improve their insulin sensitivity. So whether you're dealing with type 2 diabetes or weight issues or anything else, this tool, the Feel Great system, is changing lives. It has made an impact on mine. I've been using this for 2 years now, right? And it had literally has saved my life. I'm grateful for it. So let's talk about insulin for a second, because I think it's important for us to understand what is going on with insulin, right? Insulin is a hormone that acts like a key to unlock our cells, right? Our cells, our whole body is made up of trillions of cells. And every time you and I eat food, especially sugar and carbs, it causes your blood sugar to go up. And folks, when it causes your blood sugar to go up, it causes your body to release a hormone called insulin. Okay, this is normal. This is basic biology, right? We eat, blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up. Insulin is the key to unlock our cells. It is the Uber driver that picks up the glucose out of our bloodstream and it carries it to our cells. And normally, our cells would be okay with this. But what happens is when we become insulin resistant, folks, here's what happens. Your cells become resistant, right? Insulin is knocking at the door, but our cells are no longer listening to it. And I want you guys to understand that there's only 2 stages of our life where we want some level of insulin resistance, and that's puberty and pregnancy. Because these are the 2 stages of life where we need our body to grow, right? It's helping our body to grow. Outside of that, too much insulin in the body becomes problematic. Now, how many of you know for a fact that you have insulin resistance, right? I'm gonna put this picture, and hopefully it doesn't take away this, but let me see if I can put this in here. Okay. How many of you, when you're looking at this list, okay, what did I do with that? Okay. Look at this list for a second. Okay. How many of you feel like you are struggling with one or more of these symptoms, right? If you are struggling with one or more of these, would you guys just mind typing the number 1 in the chat? Please put a 1 in the chat. It helps me to know how many others are affected by this. Okay. Donna, thank you for that. Okay, it looks like we've got some 1s. User 9595, thank you for that. Nana, thank you for joining. User 95, okay. Let's make this bigger. Okay, let me move this over. Okay, it's going to take up the screen for a second, but how many of you have frequent urination at night? How many of you are constantly hungry all the time? How many of you are tired after you've eaten a meal? What about belly FAT? Okay, Miss K, thank you. What about brain fog? If you're not eating, right, if you're going longer, and how many of you get irritable? How many of you get frustrated, right? How many of us have the skin tags, the psoriasis, the eczema, the PCOS, right? 26% of American women have PCOS. What about erectile dysfunction? What about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver disease? You know what's interesting about this, folks? What's crazy is that every symptom that I just mentioned, did you know that it's all caused by one thing? One thing. Caused by one thing. And yet far too often we throw medications at our symptoms, but it doesn't fix the root cause. How many of you And by the way, if you have a doctor that is talking to you about insulin resistance, hold on to that doctor, because the sad reality is that most doctors are not talking about the one thing that is affecting most of our health. And here's why this conversation matters. This conversation matters because half of our country has diabetes or type 2 or prediabetes, and chronic conditions like obesity, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders, they're all skyrocketing. But it's not just physical health, right? Infertility, PCOS, anxiety, mental health, right? All of these, believe it or not, are linked to insulin resistance. And what's frustrating is that we are often given meds for each symptom, but they don't fix the root cause. Does that make sense? My goal is to help change that. And folks, if you're struggling with health issues like kidney disease, I had stage 4 kidney disease. I don't have it anymore. But if you've been recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, maybe you've lived with this for years and you're wondering when it's going to end. I'm here to help. See, I offer a natural approach that serves as an alternative to medications, which is exactly why I teach and use the Feel Great system. It's listed right here in the TikTok shop. This is listed in the physician's desk reference. And if you don't know what that is the resource that doctors use when they are prescribing meds. We happen to be in the PDR along with meds, even though this is not a medication. It's made from plants and food. You know, aging does not have to mean a slowing metabolism, right? How many of us feel like that these health issues that we have, it's because we're getting older, right? So this is just normal, right? We're supposed to start slowing down, right? How many of you feel that way? How many of you feel like that no matter how healthy you eat, no matter how often you work out, how many of you just feel like you're doing everything right and you just feel like you're taking 2 steps back? If that's you, put me in the chat, right? How many of you feel that way? How many of you are frustrated? You know, it seems like every time you go to your doctor, okay, your doctor is just diagnosing and treating the symptoms, right? How many of you feel like you go and you leave the doctors with more unanswered questions than answers? Stephanie Murphy, thank you. Let me know if you have any questions on what you see in the car. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to assist any one of you. And by the way, okay, when you're checking out, if you use this as the promo code, okay, it's going to give you 25% off the cost. You're getting free shipping, okay? Folks, it comes with a 90-day, 100% money back guarantee. If you've tried this and it just doesn't work, just get your money back. There's zero risk. You know, I have a friend that lives in Tucson, Arizona. She actually used to be the director of a heart hospital for over a decade. And she said that her patients who had blood pressure and cholesterol issues, not one of those patients in the 10 years that she was director, not one of those patients ever came off their meds. In fact, they were actually seeing them being placed on more meds. And here's the truth. In the United States, we are seeing rising rates of obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders, everything. It almost seems that everybody I come in contact with is affected by these issues. So let's talk solutions, right? The first step is understanding why we have these health issues. Why is your A1C high? Why are you a type 2 diabetic, right? Why is a doctor putting you on insulin as a type 2 diabetic? A type 1 needs it, but why is a type 2 getting put on it, right? I think it's important for us to understand why we have these health issues. But most importantly, I think it's important for you to understand what you can do to start improving it. See, when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, my doctor says, Troy, you need to lose some weight. So guess what I was given, right? How many of you are on this? You know, I was on that for almost a little over 2 months. I finally stopped taking it. I didn't wait for my doctor to say, hey, you don't need it anymore. I literally stopped taking it because it was just making me sick. And it was 2.5 years later when I learned about this, the Feel Great system. And it's right here in the TikTok shop if you're curious to check it out. It's HSA and FSA approved. So if you have that through your benefits through your employer, guess what? You can use that to purchase this. And it comes with a 90-day guarantee. Folks, the solution is this. We've got to get our insulin under control. The best way to do that is fasting. Fasting is the quickest way to regulate your insulin levels. But I want you guys to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in your body. Okay? Just like how the smoke signals that there is a fire, the symptoms that you and I feel happen to be the symptoms to the fire. When we focus on extinguishing the fire, guess what happens to all of the symptoms that you have? They start to go away. Folks, if you have a fire, you're camping, right? You're getting ready to leave the campsite. What do we do with the fire? We put it out. And when you put that fire out, the smoke starts to fade away. The same thing applies when you improve insulin sensitivity. Guess what happens to our symptoms? They start going away. Folks, there's a reason why I share this. I am living proof that you can improve your health without the need for meds or diets. So how do we manage the excess insulin in our bodies? Now, let me ask you guys a question, okay? How many of you were taught to have 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times? How many of you have been given that advice? Type advice in the chat if that's you. And thank you to everyone who has hit the follow button. Thank you to everyone who has shared this live. So, a major contributor to the health issues that you and I have today is our habit of eating throughout the day. Right? Most of us were taught to eat smaller meals throughout the day to keep our metabolism high. Well, folks, our body does not need 3 meals a day. We don't need to snack 2 to 3 times a day. Right? While we might be living longer, it's not just about longevity, it's about how good we feel as we age. And Victor Arenas, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Let me ask you guys a question. What is the most important meal of your day? If you wouldn't mind, drop that in the chat. What is the most important meal of your day? If you wouldn't mind taking a second and put that in the chat. What is the most important meal of your day? Okay. I see lunch, couple lunches, okay. And again, let me recommend a couple books, okay? Dr. Benjamin Bickman, he is a professor at BYU. He happens to be the leading expert in the world when it comes to insulin resistance. He actually calls it the silent epidemic. And then the other doctor, this book, Metabolical, okay, he said, and by the way, Dr. Robert Lustig, he's a nutrition genius, okay? He went to MIT. He's got a medical degree from Cornell. He's got a law degree. He is a childhood endocrinologist, which is just a fancy term of saying a hormone expert, okay? But he said, and I quote, "The number one fast food restaurant in the world is not what you think it is." He said, "It's not McDonald's." He said that the number one fast food restaurant, okay, is our public schools food system. Think about this for a second, okay? Our kids, right? What are they starting their day with? Right? They're starting their day with a bowl of cereal, right? How many of us were told that, right, breakfast was the most important meal of the day? I grew up believing that. In reality, I think it was just a marketing tactic to sell more cereal. But think about this, folks. When we wake up in the morning, right, our body is in a fasted state. Our insulin levels have had a chance to come down. Your glucose has had a chance to come down. And what happens is when we wake up and we have that bowl of cereal, or maybe we have a bagel, what happens is that we spike our blood sugar like a roller coaster. How many of you have ever eaten a meal and 20 or 30 minutes later, you're tired or you're hungry again? How many of you, right, from the time that we wake up, let me put this picture back in here because I think this illustrates a good perspective on our standard American diet, right? This is what we've been taught to do every single day, right? I call this the SAD diet, right? It's called the standard American diet. My face is going to be covered for a second, but I just want to illustrate this, that the majority of us, ladies and gentlemen, when we wake up in the morning, we're having our coffee, maybe we have a muffin, maybe we have a bowl of cereal, a bagel. And what happens is that we spike our blood sugar. And when we spike our blood sugar, your insulin is released to bring this back down. This is normal behavior. But then 2 hours later, we're having a snack. So we're stacking another insulin spike on top of the previous insulin spike. And by the time our insulin starts to come down, guess what happens? You're ready for lunchtime. And you have lunch. And then an hour or 2 hours after lunch, what are we doing? We're having a snack. And then maybe, you're starting to get tired. You've got an hour left of work. And now you have another snack. Maybe you go to the vending machine and you get a soda, some form of energy. Maybe you have more coffee with cream. Maybe you have food, right, to keep you awake. So we say, right? And then you go home, you have dinner, then you have dessert, okay? And then maybe you have a snack later on. The reason why I'm saying that is because this is the majority of the advice that you and I were given back in the 80s, right? We were told to move more and eat less. And let me share something with you, right? Right? This whole calories in, calories out. You guys realize that there was actually a study that was done at the Carnegie Institute of Washington back in 1919. And I want to break this down for you, okay? If I'm eating 1,500, like if you've been told to move more and eat less, right? Calories in, calories out. Let me break it down. If I'm eating 1,500 calories a day and I'm going to the gym and I'm getting a really good workout in, right? I'm burning 2,000 calories a day. That's a 500 calorie deficit each day. And if I do this every day for a week, that would be the equivalent of 3,500 calories, right? That equals roughly 1 pound of fat loss. Now, if I weighed 200 pounds, I don't, but if I did, and if I did this for the next 200 weeks, would I end up weighing 0 pounds? Of course not. Because see, our body is a lot smarter than simple math. But I want you guys to understand something. That study was done by the Carnegie Institute of Washington. And what's amazing is that when people reduced their calories, they were tired, they were cold, right? They suffered muscle loss. It's called sarcopenia. And let me stay on that topic for a second. Sarcopenia, muscle wasting. Do you guys realize that for every 10 pounds of weight that you might lose on this, that your body, you're losing about 5 pounds of muscle, bone, and connective tissue? Right? Go look up the side effects of this, right? And it's amazing that how many people who I've talked to who feel weaker, right? They feel like they've lost some muscle. Imagine that you're talking to somebody who's hard of hearing. And so we instinctively start talking louder. Or imagine that you're wearing noise canceling headphones and your partner keeps asking you the same question, but you can't hear them. This is what happens to our cells inside of our body. When you have insulin resistance, your body needs to produce more and more insulin just to store the same amount of glucose. This is what puts people at a much greater risk for health issues. And like I said, it's like a fire that is burning out of control in our bodies. Think about this. Folks, I think it is so important for people to understand why we have health issues. And by the way, if breakfast is your favorite meal of the day, it's mine too. Just consider having it for lunch or for dinner. And instead of having a food first thing in the morning, what I would encourage you to do is do time-based eating. Go longer periods of time. Maybe if you eat breakfast at 8 o'clock, tomorrow push that first meal back an hour. Have breakfast at 9. And then the very next day, push it to 9:30 or 10. And the next day after that, push it to 11. And before you know it, you're skipping breakfast. Breakfast meant something entirely different to our ancestors, right? Folks, our body actually runs better, right? Because when we avoid food, we are avoiding glucose spike. And that means that your body doesn't have to release any insulin. This is a powerful thing. Because when you allow your insulin to come down, that's when your body switches fuel sources. Your body has two fuel sources. You are either burning sugar from the foods that you are eating, or you are burning your stored fat. You're right. But your body cannot burn and store at the same time. It can only be doing one. And I hate to say it, but the majority of us we are constantly storing FAT all the time. And the reason for that is because your insulin levels are high all the time. So, folks, as I mentioned before, I think it is important for us to understand why we have these health issues, and more importantly, what we can do about them. So the two things that I teach everybody every day is fasting and fiber. These are two simple, effective things that you can do that can help to improve insulin sensitivity. It can help to modify your health in ways that diets, medications, exercise won't do. As I mentioned, fasting is the quickest way to get your insulin under control. When we shrink your eating window, okay, what you're doing is you're just avoiding glucose spikes. When you avoid the glucose spike, you are avoiding the insulin spike. If you're trying to lose weight, that's what you've got to do. You've got to get your insulin under control. If you're eating all day long, your insulin's high, which means your blood sugar's high. Okay? And that means that your body is constantly pumping out more and more and more insulin. No wonder why I gained weight. No wonder why people develop skin issues like skin tags or brain fog. Sleep issues. How many of you struggle to sleep at night? Is there anybody watching that wakes up 1 to 2 times. Maybe you do that to go to the restroom, but how many of you are just restless throughout the entire night? Go back to the previous day. How many of you stop eating 4 hours before you go to bed? When you stop 4 hours before you go to bed, guess what? Your body's not processing food when you're going to bed. It allows your insulin levels to start coming down. Okay? Brenna June. And here's the thing. That can be normal sometimes, right? Maybe your body didn't have any weight to lose, but it doesn't mean that you didn't improve your health. See, when you fast, there's something magical that's happening underneath the hood, right? Think of a car. Okay. When you fast, especially, and here's the thing, let me put this in the chat. Okay. This kind of explains fasting a little bit. Okay. But these are the things that happen as a result of fasting. Okay. When you fast for 12 hours, guess what happens? You reset your gut. You start to increase in growth hormone, right? Your HGH goes up. Your body starts to create ketones. Do you guys realize that ketones, your body has two fuel sources, okay? Remember, you either have glucose or ketones. And if your body has either one of those, guess what your brain prefers? Guess what your gut prefers? Ketones. You see, what's great about ketones is that ketones doesn't need insulin to enter your cells. It can just enter your cells. It doesn't need permission. And the reality, folks, is that the longer you fast, right? If you fast for 72 hours, guess what happens? Your body resets your entire immune system. When your body creates stem cells, you guys realize that your body has the ability to heal itself. And the best thing about stem cells is that it does not need any directions from you. It will literally start finding all of the areas inside of our body that need healing, and it'll heal it for you. Our bodies are absolutely amazing. And folks, I'm telling you, if you are looking for a natural alternative to the medications that are often prescribed, this is exactly why I teach the Feel Great system. It's listed in the TikTok shop. It comes with a guarantee that you can't get on meds or diets. So fasting is step number 1, okay? Step number 2 is ensuring that you are getting enough fiber in your diet. Fiber is crucial, right? Most of us are not getting enough fiber, and the reality is this becomes a huge issue because if you want to control, insulin, right, you've got to eat fiber with your meals. Now, I use a special formulated fiber that was created by Rexall, right? This is in the TikTok shop. This fiber is a blend of 7 soluble and insoluble fibers. And what it does is it comes together and it creates a barrier inside of our gut. It slows the absorption of the sugar in the foods. It slows your digestion down. We need that sometimes because it allows your body to get the nutrients that it needs. Okay? So it helps to prevent the release of insulin. This is huge because when you can prevent that, that's where your body, that's really where the magic starts to happen. As I mentioned before, insulin resistance is one of the root causes of things like obesity, IBS, Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis, constant cravings, right? If you're hungry all the time, if you have a hard time losing weight, especially that if you've got that protruding belly, right, the belly fat, it's likely that you have insulin resistance. And that is your problem. And if you have fatty liver, folks, fatty liver, before 1980, people that had this, the people were alcoholics. And now they are diagnosing 3-year-olds with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Folks, you realize that you can improve your health naturally. Now, what I'm sipping on, I'm almost finished with it, okay? This is a yerba mate tea that is loaded with chlorogenic acid and theobromine. You can't just go to the grocery store. This is not the yerba mate that you would buy from a grocery store. This actually has 10 times more chlorogenic acid than a cup of coffee, and it has 375 times more chlorogenic acid than a cup of yerba mate. This chlorogenic tea is absolutely amazing. It helps to reduce your triglycerides, your LDL. It improves your HDL. It lowers your A1C. All clinical study, right? All of these studies are made headline. They should be made headline news around the world. But the reality is that these studies exist. They can prove that this works. And unfortunately, far too often we are just given meds instead of being taught how to fix the root cause. How many of you have a doctor that is talking to you about insulin resistance? If that's you, put yes, and if no, put no. I'm curious as to how many doctors have addressed insulin resistance with you guys. And if they haven't, I will. Okay. User 9595 says yes. Okay. And Fidan, Brenda was mentioning that she was doing a 15-day fast. I think you may have thought it was 15 minutes, which is why you made the comment not enough. Okay. 15 days is incredible. 15 days of fasting is absolutely incredible. I'm shocked though, okay, that you didn't lose weight, right? And again, your body, if your body doesn't need to lose it, but you should have felt something different, right? You should have certainly noticed a difference in your overall metabolic health, right? If our body doesn't need to lose weight, it's not going to lose weight, but it's still going to improve your health in other areas, right? Now, folks, heart disease and the C word that I'm not allowed to say are the two leading causes of death worldwide. And most people have no idea that insulin resistance is the key driver of these risks. It's crazy. Now, if you have a doctor that is talking to you about insulin resistance, hold on to that doctor, because the majority of medical professionals, they're not even talking about it. There's no money in it. I am living proof. When I got on this system in January of 2024, within a month and a half, I had lost 32 pounds. My migraines of 23 years improved and went away. That was the most rewarding thing for me, is to not have migraines anymore. Because if any of you have migraines, you know how debilitating they can be, right? They affect our body in a very, like, it's almost like you can't even function. You can't lay down, you can't sleep, you can't do anything because your head is just pounding. So to get rid of that was a blessing in disguise. But to go back to my nephrologist 5 months later, and my kidney doctor is saying, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." I'm telling you, folks, if you are looking for a natural alternative to the medications that you're on, this is a total game changer. I want you to think about something, okay? Think of insulin resistance as a spectrum, okay? Everybody exists along this continuum from insulin sensitivity to insulin resistance, with type 2 diabetes marking the extreme end. Folks, your risk of severe health condition is determined by where you fall on that line. The more insulin resistant you are, the higher your risk is for cardiovascular disease, for dementia, for high blood pressure, for stroke, for diabetes, for the C word that we celebrate in September, And I want you guys to understand something, that insulin resistance doesn't just increase your risk for these conditions, it actually shortens your lifespan. It's a key predictor of early heart disease. It's crazy. And your body and my body, they're special, right? God knew what he was doing when he created us. Our bodies have the ability to heal itself as long as we are not poisoning ourselves. The problem is most of us don't realize how often and frequently we are poisoning ourselves by the things that we put in our mouth, right? The things that we eat, the things that we drink. And believe it or not, testing for insulin resistance is actually simple. The most precise method is measuring your fasting insulin levels. The problem, though, is that if you have metabolic syndrome, you're likely already insulin resistant, but it can be improved. This is what I'm trying to explain. So understanding where you are on the insulin resistance spectrum can be life-changing. This is why I do these lives, because it's time to shed light on this silent yet powerful driver of chronic diseases so that we can take proactive steps towards better health, right? Now, here's how simple this system is. It is the easiest thing I have ever used. It is really simple. When I explain how simple this is, anybody can do this. So when I wake up in the morning, okay, what I do is I get a big bottle and I put a bunch of ice and water in this, and I pour this in here and I shake it and I literally sip on it all morning. That's it. Folks, if you can wake up and if you can skip breakfast, and you don't have to skip a meal, but you'll feel better if you do. But if you can wake up and if you can just take a bottle, put some ice and water in it, pour this in here, 20 to 30 ounces of water, and just shake it and just sip on it, right? It's a packet of a yerba mate chlorogenic acid tea. It helps you to fast without feeling hungry. It literally shuts the food noise off, which is what these GLP-1 meds do, right? But this does it without any side effects. It does it naturally. And what's amazing is it helps your body to get into fat burning mode faster. If any of you have tried eating smaller meals, right? You're doing everything right, but you seem to keep gaining weight. We have a solution to that problem. I have seen more type 2 diabetics improve their health, get off meds, reverse type 2 diabetes. The crazy thing is it's actually possible because insulin resistance in and of itself is reversible. And that's a really good question, right? Catfish Cajun. And by the way, I try to reach out to you at the time that you requested. And so if there's a time that works for you, would love to connect with you. Or if you just want to text, that can be easy. We can just communicate that way. But here's why I love this system. The Feel Great system that's listed in the TikTok shop. I have it listed there. It helps to detox your liver. It improves insulin sensitivity. It nourishes your microbiome, which is where 80% of your immune system is. And here's the thing, this system, this protocol is simple and effective. It's not about a quick fix or another crash diet. This is about fixing the root cause of so many health issues. See, when we go to a doctor, we treat the symptoms, right? But when you tackle the root cause, all of these symptoms will naturally go away. And folks, I want you guys to understand, okay? I don't work with everyone. I don't work with people who are just looking for a quick fix. If you are genuinely looking to improve your health, folks, this could be an absolute game changer. Try it for 90 days. See how you feel. If it doesn't work, folks, I will personally help you get your money back. It's not about making a sell. Folks, it's about sharing something that can impact your health in a positive way. So whether you're dealing with high blood pressure or autoimmune conditions or sleep apnea, what this approach works on is reducing insulin resistance. Even if you don't have weight issues, okay? You could still have high blood pressure, you could have migraines, you could have skin issues, you could have other symptoms that are connected to insulin resistance. This isn't just a weight problem, folks, it's a hormone problem. And it affects more than just your waistline. Okay. I've worked with a lot of people, hundreds of people who didn't have weight issues, but they still struggle with things like high blood pressure and high cholesterol and other issues. Every single one of those things is all caused by insulin resistance. So if you think you're exempt from these problems because you're not overweight, I want you to think again, right? And folks, if any of you have any questions, please put them in the chat. So now that we know that insulin resistance is the root cause of so many health issues, what can we do about it? And the first step is managing your glucose spikes. And one of the most effective ways to do this is by practicing time-based eating fasting, which I've been talking about. Folks, fasting is so powerful. It's amazing. Even the Bible talks about it. It talks about healing and rejuvenation, right? It talks about healing our gut, healing our body, right? Oftentimes when we're praying for somebody, right? Maybe somebody's dealing with some health issues. And so we pray. Oftentimes, at least where I go to church, we often fast, right? Right? There's a lot of people around the world that are in need. Tank Hill, I would love to know why you think fasting is so unhealthy. Why is fasting unhealthy? Please help me to understand why fasting is so unhealthy. Fasting is one of the best things that we can do to start healing our gut. You know what's interesting? There is a doctor who studied chemo patients, and he had these chemo patients do a 3-day water fast. And at the end of the 3-day water fast, these chemo patients rejuvenated their entire immune system. So you guys realize that when you fast, your body creates stem cells. When you fast, your body literally creates stem cells. You know what's amazing? How many people do you know struggle with the C word, right? I'm not allowed to say it on this TikTok, but the C word, okay, is something that a majority of people unfortunately have, right? And a lot of people unfortunately have passed away from the C word that we celebrate in September. You know what's crazy? Is they actually have these petri dishes. And there was a study done where they took breast cancer and colorectal C cells, and they put it in this petri dish. You want to know what's interesting? Is that when insulin and sugar were present, these cells proliferated. They multiplied, right? Remember the gremlins back in the day when you sprinkled water on the gremlins, they multiplied? It's exactly what happened to these harmful bad cells. But the moment they removed insulin out of the equation, guess what happened to those cells? They died. See, cancer cells cannot thrive on ketones. It needs sugar. It needs high insulin environments. So folks, if you are eating all of these meals, right? If you're eating the small 3 meals a day and you're snacking 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times a day, guess what you're doing? You are keeping your insulin high all the time. When insulin is high, your body is storing FAT. When insulin is low, your body is burning your FAT. Would you rather store it or burn it? So fasting is one of the most powerful things you can do. Now, I'm not talking about fasting for days, right? Or weeks. Now, there are some that do it, but if you fast for 24 hours, you reset your gut. When you fast for 72 hours, you reset your immune system. Your body's creating stem cells. Guys, stem cells are the exact same thing that people travel to other countries and pay thousands of dollars to have the treatment done. Guys, your body creates it on its own. How many people do you know are on Ozempic or Mounjaro or Wegovy? You guys realize that you can't actually give your body a GLP-1? Did you know that your body creates it? Your body makes GLP-1. The problem is most people don't make enough, which is why they're getting on these meds, right? To shut the food noise off. Folks, what I love about the tea that I sip on it all day. Ask UA, thank you for the follow. When you sip on this, it literally shuts your food noise off. It increases your ketone production. It clears the brain fog. Your energy levels go up. And what it does is it helps to eliminate the glucose in the insulin spike. And then if you're hungry, when you get to lunch, guess what? You have lunch. And then you have your second tea, right? There's two of these in the Feel Great system. Okay. So you have two teas. You sip on one in the morning. You sip on your second one after lunch. And this fiber you have right before your biggest meal of the day. And for most people, that is dinner. Folks, this fiber is a natural statin. It is listed, both of these, by the way, are listed in the physician's desk reference. You guys realize that? Where doctors prescribe meds, our protocol happens to be listed in the same place that doctors prescribe drugs. And yet doctors never teach you how to fix the root cause. Interesting. How many doctors have ever sat you down and said, hey, here is a natural alternative to the meds that I'm prescribing? Folks, at some point, we have got to be an advocate for our own health. Scott Peterson, thank you for the follow. You guys realize that your body has the ability to heal itself as long as we're giving ourselves the right tools. This is why I love this book by Dr. Ben Bickman and Metabolical, right? They're both coming to the same conclusion that insulin resistance happens to be the root cause of all of these health issues. Folks, I didn't know anything about insulin resistance 4.5 years ago. Had no idea. My doctor gave me Ozempic. I got on this, made me sick. It wasn't until 2.5 years later when a former rocket scientist, my friend and her husband, who is a financial advisor with me, she reached out to me. She said, you need to try the Feel Great system. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew is that it came with a 90-day money-back guarantee. So I'm like, okay, what do I have to lose? Folks, you have nothing to lose. We've got to be an advocate for our own health. Veronica, I love that. Folks, I honestly, once I learned what insulin resistance, I started to connect all the dots. So I started skipping breakfast. And instead of breakfast, I was sipping on this tea. I love fasting. I think I've fasted for almost 30 hours now, or maybe just under 30 hours. I'm doing an extended fast. I love fasting. I feel my energy levels are up. My brain fog is gone. I'm not tired throughout the day. I'm performing at a high level. Folks, I love this system. It has changed my life. Let me share this with you. This is a customer of mine who lives in the UK. Where is this? Hold on a second. I want you to look at this text message that I received from a customer. How powerful is that text? His doctor prescribed a medication, but he decided to do the Feel Great system instead. Just look at his story. This is his story. He's been able to improve his health through natural methods. It's incredible. Look at this. when I look at this is my friend Jimmy. Jimmy had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. He had type 2 diabetes. He had blood pressure issues, depression, acid reflux, all of these things. Look at his story. It's pretty incredible. Look at Claudia. Claudia was a type 2 diabetic for 23 years. She was on something called metformin. How many of you are on metformin? How many of you love being on these meds? Be honest. How many of you, if you knew that there was a solution to a big problem that didn't involve meds, how many of you would be open to trying it? Honestly. Folks, I am not here to convince you. In fact, I'm not even interested in having people use this unless you are serious about improving your health. I love it when people just come onto my lives and they have no idea what I'm even talking about. Folks, you don't have to wait to fix your health. Coco and Beasley, I have been on this system since January of 2024. I will never stop taking it. Within 5 months of being on it, when I went back to my nephrologist, my kidney doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Folks, if this resonates with you, if it sounds like what you are looking for, maybe you've been praying for this. I don't believe in coincidences or happenstances. Maybe there's a reason why you're on this live. Maybe there was something that I shared that just helps you. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start fasting. Maybe I'm going to start getting more fiber. I'm going to eat more broccoli or beans or flax or chia seeds or avocados or artichokes, right? I'm going to start getting more fiber in my diet because fiber is important. This product has been around for over 30 years and hardly anybody knows about it. This is exactly why I use it and teach it. People can try it for 90 days. If it doesn't work, you get your money back. It's about $5.10 a day. I have put this here. So when you click on this and order it, folks, it comes with free shipping, which is fantastic, right? If you enter this and where it asks for the promo code or discount code, if you put this, it's all case sensitive. So make sure that it's capital letters, but that'll take 25% off the price. It's going to take it below $200. And folks, I pay under $200, barely. You will be paying similar price. Tanya, thank you for putting that in the chat of what you've experienced, right? I've been on this for 2 years, actually over 2 years. Mocha Coffee Cup. I like your handle. Thank you for the follow. Let me see something here. Let me who is on here that let me see here. I'm not seeing him on here. Otherwise, folks, if you are looking for something, you just found it. Okay. I've only got a couple more minutes, then I've got to hop off. When you fast, look at who just decided to show up. Hi, me. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Now she's like, I'm going to go take a nap. Mocha, my doctor makes me feel guilty because I have type 2 and he wants me to start. Okay, so he wants you, right? He's probably getting on it because maybe he's like, you need to lose some weight. Folks, what I'm sipping on happens to be a natural form of that medication. It literally, folks, this is why I love the system. When you get on this system, it's a game changer. A lot of people wish that they would have started it the moment they learned about it. Folks, if you're on the fence, if you're like, should I order it or should I not? It comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. Folks, try it for 1 month. If it doesn't work for you, just cancel the order. But what I can tell you is that the moment you get on this, you're going to notice a difference. And if you are checking your blood work or your doctor's checking it for you, you're going to notice a difference day one. You know, I wasn't a fan of fasting, and this just makes fasting so much easier. So what I'm sipping on is a natural lemon. They have a raspberry pomegranate. They actually have a new flavor that I haven't tried hot, but I'm going to try it hot later. It's the mint chocolate brownie. Okay. They have and I can't wait for them to come back out with it. It's a ginger with a cayenne pepper. But the most popular flavor is a natural lemon. And I love the natural lemon. You can actually put the mint chocolate. Is that one good? I haven't tried it hot. I had it cold. I didn't really care for it cold, but hot, I'm going to try it because I hear it's night and day different hot. So here's what I can tell you guys. Okay. Here's the reality. Here's the truth. Okay. When we go to a doctor, doctors diagnose and treat the symptoms. You cannot fix the root cause, which is insulin resistance with medications. You just can't. They might, treat your symptoms. It might help the suffering to go away for a little bit. But the reality is that the moment you stop those meds, the symptoms come back. It's no different than a diet. You and I can white knuckle a diet, right? For 2 weeks and we lose weight. But guess what happens? All of the symptoms come right back. Well, folks, what if instead of chasing the symptoms, we just tackled the root cause of our health issues? This is why I love this. Because at the end of the day, you can improve your health without the need for meds or diets. This is why I share this. Okay. And folks, feel free to put your questions in the chat. And I'm not sure who it showed somebody that just made an order, but I just want to double check that. Our system is actually a little delayed, which is crazy. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't tell me who. How do I find this out? Okay. Who was this? Okay, I'm not sure who just made a purchase, but I appreciate that. I always like to give a shout out on who actually, but it doesn't actually tell me unless it's just taking a second. But so I want to tell you, I want to share a quick story with you, okay, that just kind of explains why this system can make a huge difference. Okay. There's a doctor, he's passed away, but his name was Dr. Francis Pottinger. Okay. And this was a doctor that loved cats. Okay. And so he fed cats 3 different types of meals. He fed one group raw meat, one group raw milk, and the third group he fed boxed food, right? The processed stuff that you and I eat today. And he said that the cats on the boxed food, they had major health issues, right? Because there was no fiber, they were constantly hungry, their blood sugar spiked, and they developed cholesterol problems. And he said that the shocking part was that after just 3 generations of eating the boxed foods, so 30 years of eating boxed foods, he said only 1/3 of those cats could reproduce and make babies. But the other groups that were eating the raw meat and the raw milk, they were perfectly fine. That just goes to show you how important it is, the food choices that we make. Now, most of us, like me, I grew up believing that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. But that whole idea was created to sell more cereal and more bagels, right? If you love breakfast, have it for lunch or for dinner. I love breakfast. I love eggs, scrambled eggs. I love bacon. I love all of that. I love pancakes. Who doesn't, right? Mocha. I will. So when this comes through, okay, I will. It's late here, but when your information comes through, I'll jump on a call. Or I'm gonna send you a text either way. Okay, and we'll make sure that moving forward, okay, that happens. But Mocha, I'm excited for you. Seriously, I didn't think that this was going to work, and I would imagine that Tanya probably didn't think it was going to work. Folks, the only reason why I gave in and purchased it is because I knew that if it didn't work within 90 days, I could get my money back. I didn't think it was going to work. Within a month and a half, I had lost 32 pounds. But the thing that I noticed in the very first week is that I had migraines for 23 years. Folks, getting rid of my migraines in week 1 was a life-changing in and of itself. If any of you has ever had migraine where you could be in a dark room and it still hurts, that's the kind of migraines that I had. And Mocha, I'm really grateful that you were on this live, and I'm excited to work with you. I'm going to send you instructions that will literally outline exactly how to use this system. I want to make sure that you get all of the benefits out of this system that you can. I'm excited for you because it does work. You're going to notice a difference day 1. So I'm excited to work with you. I want to thank each and every one of you for being on this live. I really appreciate those that have been tapping the screen, who have shared this with people. And folks, if you are looking for a simple, natural, proven way that can help improve your health, that doesn't rely on meds or diets, don't wait. And if you are looking for a good book, these are the 2 books that I recommend. One is by Dr. Robert Lustig, who is a nutrition genius. He's the one that says the number 1 fast food restaurant in the world is not what we think it is, right? Everybody thinks that it's McDonald's, and yes, McDonald's has a ton of real estate, but he said the number 1 fast food restaurant in the world is our public schools food system, and I believe it. Think about what our kids are eating. I used to be a bus driver. More than half of the students, the elementary students and even junior high students, more than half of them were overweight, or they dealt with some other health issues like anxiety and mental health. Folks, it's a big deal. Way too many people are affected by these issues, and most people don't realize it. Okay. Now, the other book, okay, is Why We Get Sick. Okay. Dr. Benjamin Bickman. Okay. He's a leading scientist in the world when it comes to insulin resistance. And Janice, I'm grateful for you. I'm excited for you. Okay. But Dr. Ben Bickman, his book is amazing, right? But they all come to the same conclusion that insulin resistance happens to be the root cause. The question is, how do we fix it? Okay. Time-based eating, this tea is going to help you to shut the food noise off. Some of us need that because some of us, we're foodies. I'm a foodie. I love food. But sometimes you are not going to outrun your fork. Okay. You can't outrun insulin resistance, right? It's not even about eating less food. It's about eating less often, right? We don't need 3 meals a day. We don't need to snack 2 to 3 to 4 times a day. We don't need to snack at all. We're not toddlers anymore, right? But I love this system because it helps with that. And the fiber, right? We've got to get fiber in our diet, and this will help you to do that, right? This fiber was studied at the #1 heart hospital in the world. And Casey, I don't know if you would love to jump on. I would love to get your opinion. This is my business partner, right? I love working with. Well, he's the reason that I'm using this, right? My friend Amory and her husband used to live here in Arizona. They live in Alabama now, but they put me in touch with my friend here, and I'm grateful for this system. It has literally changed my life. Okay. Folks, again, if this resonates with you, if it sounds like what you're looking for, praying for, here's the reality. If we address insulin resistance, we could eliminate 90% of all the chronic diseases that exist today. This is why it's so important to make better food choices and focus on the root cause. And if we can do that, folks, remember the fire analogy, right? When we put the fire out, the smoke fades away. Well, when you focus on fixing the root cause, guess what happens? Guess what goes away? The symptoms. Okay. This is why I talk about this, because it works. Okay. As I mentioned, okay, this protocol, the Feel Great system that's in the TikTok shop, it helps you to detox your liver. It improves insulin sensitivity. It nourishes your microbiome, okay, where 80% of our immune system is, right? And when you support your microbiome with the right nutrients, you boost your health, you fix your hormones, you fight off autoimmune diseases, right, that we all have. It's actually amazing how many conditions improve or even disappear when we treat the root cause. The body is designed to heal itself. But the problem is most of us don't realize how often and how frequently we are poisoning our bodies, right? Think about this. When you visit your doctor, they're going to measure your glucose levels. But here's the thing. It's like having a basement in your house that looks dry on the surface, but is actually full of water beneath it. If we keep eating foods that spike your blood sugar, your body is going to produce an excessive amount of insulin. And the issue isn't just your glucose levels. It's how your body is managing the constant insulin spikes. Right? Imagine your pancreas is what's secreting the insulin. So imagine your pancreas as a sump pump that's trying to keep up with the flood. If we keep stressing our bodies with poor food choices and more medications, you're not solving the root problem. It's like trying to fix a dirty fish tank by adding more chemicals rather than just cleaning the water, right? We've got to address the environment inside of our bodies, not just the symptoms. Okay, and Doris, thank you so much for the follow. And Mocha, and let me guess, you're a type 2 diabetic. Let me show you this picture, okay? This is going to give you a lot of hope, and this is why I do this, okay? Look at this. And I'm going to share one other, okay? Let me show you this one. This is huge. In 66 days, I've decreased insulin by 64%. Completely off of blood pressure meds after 47 years of blood pressure. Their A1C went from 7.6 to 6.5. Guys, this is an absolute game changer. And when we look at this, and Burmy man, let me know if you have any questions. But this is what happens, right? This is the root of today's struggles, right? This is our standard diet, right? This is what we're doing every day. Okay. This is the fiber and how powerful it is, right? It feeds the gut microbiome. It helps improve IBS, constipation, right? All of these things start to improve, right? The chlorogenic tea, it actually helps your body increase your body's own production of GLP-1 by 70%. And when you have the right system, it helps to improve insulin sensitivity, right? It feeds your good bacteria, right? It starts to heal your gut from the inside out. And that's what this is all about, okay? Folks, I've been using this for over 2 years. I will never stop using it. I have helped hundreds and hundreds of people around the world improve their health in ways that they never even thought was possible, right? How many of you are familiar with the Cleveland Clinic? The Cleveland Clinic happens to be the #1 heart hospital in the world. And they studied this. This was, one of the concluding statement. They said such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis. This is coming from the #1 heart hospital in the world. Guys, you can look up this clinical study in the PDR and PubMed. It's incredible. This is a partner of mine. He was a customer. He's currently on dialysis, and not only has he lost weight, he's completely come off of insulin as a type 2 diabetic. I mean, he says this protocol is truly wonderful. And look him up, Health Coach Luis. It's incredible the transformation that he's had. This is what it's all about. I love talking about this, right? This is the wheel of torture. Some of us have often heard, right? This right here is, let me put this back. How come it's not showing up? Let me go back here. Well, it doesn't look like it's going in here, but here's the competition, folks. Okay, we all recognize this. Okay, this is the competition that most people are on. I have never met another human being that would rather be on that than this. And this is why I teach the Feel Great system. Folks, when you're getting ready to check out, make sure that where it says discount or promo code, you're going to put the FEELGTROY. Okay. And Janice, I believe that you may even be able to, I'll connect with you. I think that there's a way that they can credit, but I can't make any promises. But folks, here's what I can tell you. Okay. This system has changed my life. It has changed many people's lives, many of which are actually on this live currently. Okay. And if what I'm sharing with you resonates with you, if it sounds like something that you would like to try, okay, you don't have to wait. Hi. Come here. Come here. Are there any other questions before I hop off? I know there's quite a few people that are looking at this. Let me know if there's any questions. I'll stay on a few minutes and just answer any questions that any of you might have. I just want to make sure that for those of you that are trying to get on it, and thank you guys so much for hopping on today. I really appreciate